Wow. Sorry about
Yeah,
that.
you can record, no problem. That's the whole reason why we're here. Anyway, man, looking good, man. Looking exactly the same.
Yeah, the pandemic has been kind of kind to me, I guess, in terms of I can still fit in my pants, so that's a plus, you know.
Hmm.
Uh I was surprised. I did a move in the middle of the pandemic from Portland to Spokane to, be closer to the kids and family. And this summer I pulled out some shorts and some jeans, and I'm like, oh boy, here we
Yeah,
go. And
yeah,
thankfully I can still fit in them. A little snug, but
yeah.
it's better than not being able to fit in them.
Well, whatever, man. I mean, we're all like a little hard on ourselves,
Oh yeah,
on our bodies and
totally.
whatever, you know.
How
But
are you surviving? You've been super busy. I don't know anybody else that made 3 movies during the pandemic, so that's pretty cool.
no, I didn't make 3 movies during the pandemic. I only made one during the pandemic, but I made two. I made two others like the year before in 2019, and then 2020 was like nothing's happening, and I made a movie in the beginning of the pandemic ish, like March, April, May. Is like when I was kind of pre-production, production, post-production. We wanted to turn it around really quickly. Anyway, but yeah, so yeah, I didn't make 3 movies during the pandemic. I only made one. So there.
Yeah, the internet loves to spin things that way, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, whatever. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was happy to be busy. We can get into the details of that. You ever had? Yeah, this is my sponsored by Topo Chico.
Topo Chico.
Yeah, they're not really sponsored, but this stuff is. I'm in Texas right now. This stuff is like gold here. This stuff is like
Yep.
it's so hot.
Yeah.
Not that this helps.
Yeah.
Kind of, dehydrates you as sodium and other things. I think, but it's so good, man. It's so good.
What brings you down to Texas? I know that you've gone there before. I know in the past for work or
I'm
what
from
brings
here.
you
I'm from South
down?
Texas, and I think you know that. I'm from Corpus Christi, the home of Selena, and so I'm born and raised there. My whole family's in Houston, so I came down here during the pandemic. I sold my place up there, and that was kind of complicated. But I had a place downtown Portland, and it was cool, but it was just gonna cause some problems, as far as like being there and trying to find work or whatever, So I
Yeah.
let it go, and it was a lot of other reasons for that. But yeah. So in the meantime, like I'm down here and I'm thinking about what's next. Because I don't know. I definitely miss Portland, and Portland
Mhm.
supports me, and I have a lot of friends there. So I don't want to, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I feel your pain. The goal was to always move closer to family. Obviously, I chose Spokane. I'm kind of like I am liking the journey so far. Um, but I do feel your pain in terms of there's a lot of community and a lot of friends left back in PDX. So I'm actually working for a company based in PDX. They have an office here, but obviously it's closed. So I can't wait to go back and meet my colleagues in the flesh in person. Um, it's going to be good to
Yeah.
have a reunion of sorts to see everybody. And when I left Portland, I was living downtown too, and it was just like pure chaos. I left in September of 2020, and the city was literally on fire. If it wasn't the BLM protests, it was the actual fires surrounding the city. So
Yeah.
it was interesting time. Um,
Yeah.
I'm glad we got out safe though. But yeah, they'll always be Portland will always be there for you. I smell a reunion or some kind of resurgence very soon for you.
Yeah. That's nice to hear. Yeah. Nice of you to say. Yeah. No, I think, yeah, it'll be there, but, I don't know. I mean, I was talking to a buddy recently, and you know, he's writing, big projects for big stars, and, um, and he's like, just like, like, well, what the hell are you doing in
Yeah,
Texas, John?
yeah,
Like, what the hell were you doing in Portland for so long? Well, you made 10 features out there, and like, okay, great, but you got to go to LA. That's just where it's at. I'm sorry, And so, I mean, but at the flip side, like people that maybe I know I look up to, maybe you do too, that never did the Hollywood thing,
mhm,
like um, John Hughes. It's
mhm.
a big, big example, right? Terrence Malick to a degree, and Richard Linklater, you know,
Mhm.
and those dudes are out here, you know,
Yeah.
and in Austin, you know, and
Mhm.
so it is, you know, it is possible, like to, you know, it was
Yeah.
you that said this, that you're saying, I think you once said that, oh, you know, the Coen brothers, they found a dentist and uh and dentist, you know, a couple of
Amazing.
dentists financed their first movies or whatever. I mean, you can keep
Yeah.
doing that and that's fine and all, but I also think I've done that a lot. I've done a lot of the sort of making feature films, you know, pulling it all together somehow, you know,
Yeah.
long days and I don't know, just dragging people through the mud and overworking. But I don't know, man. It's I can keep doing that. I'll gladly keep doing that, you know. But I mean, you know, it's nice to have it as you do this more, trying to have a better quality of life for you and everyone else if you can, you know.
Yeah, the resources, it's, you want to be able to tell the stories and have the budget and the resources that complement the story, and not always have to cut and kind of trim. And as you know, I'm finally at a place with one of my stories that was, it's so low budget, the character literally has nothing, and so the budget really has nothing. So it's kind of a win-win, because it looks like the character has nothing, because that's kind of where he's at, and so I'm having fun with that. But I hear you. Have you ever thought about possibly doing the director's trek on like a TV series, or getting
Yeah,
it ready?
that's what's happening now, and I can't say much about it.
Oh no.
Not because it's so cool and like special and secretive, but because it's not a done deal yet. But it's
Yeah.
but it's a streaming platform that wants to do an original. They're interested in the project, and we're just doing the back and forths right now. And it'll be like it's my biggest budget I ever had. You know, it could
Cool.
be, you know, if it all comes to fruition. And it's a project I've been working on for 6 years. You know, because most of my movies have just been like, you know, not making excuses, but a lot of them have been like, hey, I want to make a movie right now.
Hmm.
You know, let's just. I think pretty much all of them, dude, have been like, I want to make a movie right this second. Let's get a script together and then just boom, let's get out there and do it, you know. And that's how my career started. I was like a dare, like, you know, if I start to schedule and cast and everything, and I have to have a finished screenplay, you know, whether it's done or not or whatever, will show up
Hmm.
on that day with a finished something or other, and then start filming, you know. And that's how it's just, you know, that's how I've done it. But this is like my first, like, you know, spent a long time on the screenplay. And but at the same time, I've been editing that thing. um I mean, I just finished a few days ago, I think. Like,
Wow.
I finished.
Well, no
Yeah.
one will no one will doubt me when I say that it's certainly earned.
Yeah.
If this budget, and if the streaming thing works out, for sure, it's certainly well earned. It's going to be awesome to see you at this next level. One thing I've always admired about you and some of our other filmmaker friends, especially Wes, is you always wrote with the budget in mind, and kind of kept the story in a place where you weren't overextending yourself, because that's what a lot of like independent filmmakers do. They have, that champagne dream on a, old duels budget or beer budget, and you
Mm.
always seem to kind of write knowing that you had the budget you had, and kept those parameters there, and that's super important. But
Yeah. Well, I think it's time to have champagne dreams. That's what I think it's time for. I think that's the way
yep.
up the upper echelons, you know, is to just dream big, think big. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that till now. Like, really, like, pushing yourself towards the boundaries of like your intelligence and your creativity and your imagination. And you know, and of course, like, you know, bringing in people that are way better than you at various things. But I mean, now I think it's time to dream big, and I should have done this a lot earlier, I think, you know, rather than just kind of well, no regrets, but rather than kind of sticking to the budget in mind when I write. I think.
Yeah, well, now you have a lot of practice going into this.
Mm,
You've learned, no doubt, have learned from
totally.
many times on set. The one time I got to work with you, I got to see you on very stressful days and not so stressful days that were great. The camaraderie
Yeah.
with the cast and crew is always good, and yeah, it's just been really awesome for me to see kind of that trajectory and evolution. I think the last movie I saw of yours in the theater was the year I got back from, or no, 2 years after I got back from LA. I went
I
with
think it was Sex Brother. Yeah.
Sex Weather, and that was cool. And then I saw Luz recently. Am I pronouncing that right? Luz,
Mm. It's Luz.
Luz,
Yeah. Yeah.
Luz.
Yeah.
That one was really good. Complete
Yeah.
tearjerker as usual.
Yeah.
And then I'm really curious about this Strictly for the Birds. What's is that's in post right now?
Yeah. That's in post right now. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I
what's
can
that?
tell you
What's
about it.
yeah? What's that? What's the story on that one?
Yeah. So Strictly was one of my first kind of work for hires, but it was more than that. It's much more. It became personal for me as well. But it's the story of a woman named Kate Birdsall. She's a woman who was writing a book about her life as a trans person who transitioned later in life, and it was just the story is just about her meeting the love of her life, and kind of like she had to like make this change in her life and learn to love herself as a result of that before she could love somebody else. That's kind of the story. And so we go through different periods of her lifetime, when she's coming to the realization of who she is, and also like I guess just having to hold back who she is until she's able to actually become that person that she's always been in
Awesome.
her in her 70s. And so, and it's cool. I mean, totally inspired by that movie The Writer, the same director who did Nomadland, and of course
Mhm.
she
No
just won the
man.
Oscar. And I apologize for not remembering her name at this point, but she's one of those people. She's one of those people, like, I know her work, but
Mhm.
I just haven't. Her name isn't burned in my memory yet. But I mean, what she did with working with people who never acted before
Right.
was pretty amazing. And I've seen a lot of people try to emulate that, and I'm definitely one of them. And so I mean, but to be honest, trying to find um, uh, someone in that age range, two actors, that was very difficult. I looked so hard, and finally I found that Kate was probably the best person to play Kate. And
Awesome.
Andrea was the best person to play Andrea, and working with them was beautiful. They're beautiful people.
That's
Really
great.
really enjoyed working with them. And so the pieces about their life, and they're playing themselves in their own film. And
Mm.
um, uh, right now it's in their hands. I handed the film back to them, and they're on their own journey with it, and we'll see where it ends up distribution wise and all that. The making of the movie was completely a positive experience, and so we'll see where it ends up now. But for me, it was kind of like playing in this world of working with people who never acted before. And I think there's a lot of cool things that happen. Probably. I mean, you know, probably you might agree. I mean,
Mhm.
when you see you know people who never acted before on camera, as opposed to people who have acted a lot, and maybe just quite their experience level is just not quite there, almost there, but like they're reaching, but almost kind of falling short. But maybe in a few years they'll have that experience. There's that, and then there's working with people, they're just playing themselves, and there's some authenticity in that.
Yeah, I loved it. For instance, Nomadland, when she was uh, talking, especially to one of the older actors, about saying goodbye and how it's not really goodbye, it's just so long, and hopefully you'll see them down the road again. That scene was so super genuine, and I liked the director by the name. I just looked it up. I have IMDb here. Chloe Zhao.
that's
Um,
that's right. Yeah.
I love how much restraint Francis showed in those scenes to let
Yeah.
the other actor kind of shine, in the sense
Yeah.
that she really held back, didn't really say much in some of those moments, and you could tell that was probably if she I think she was one of the producers as well, but probably a director move. You don't want your professional Oscar winning actor
Dude,
outshining, you know.
I had a friend that went to school with her,
Mhm.
and they had the same teacher, and this teacher, his name's Boris, I believe, and they were talking about how you sharpen that bullshit meter of authenticity, what's real, what's not, what's like, and it's like, and she was, I was showing her one of my scripts. Oh, I asked her, I sent her this long email, and I was like, hey, like, tell me, how does a person make 10 movies, and then doesn't have people quite knocking down their door or even asking them to make, no one calls, I'm not complaining, but it's just the fact, like if I want to make something, I gotta do it myself, and people don't call Jon Garcia, studios don't call Jon Garcia, so I asked her, like, what's missing? Tell me, like, what's wrong? What's wrong with my work? Tell me, just whatever the elephant. And I've noticed when she's been giving me feedback on my movies, she's holding back
Hmm.
a little bit. And I'm like, just tell me, you've got this fucking NYU education. Fucking tell me,
Right.
what is it, and she told me, and I believed everything she said, and part of it is like, just like learn to, don't be in such a hurry, and don't love your actors and your some of these scenes so much that you just spend so much time on these people, falling in these faces, and then and then when you're writing your script, like, like try to imagine, some of these people who you show your work to, who, call you out on your less authentic moments, and imagine them over your shoulder, like, what would they say? How does this feel? I mean, if you're forcing something, when you're forcing something, if you're trying to make this, if you're trying to get here, and so you just cause something to happen here to get to there, as opposed to like characters, characters making choices that
Hmm.
that whereas the narrative comes from that, as opposed to like, this happens to this person, or this, I want to get here, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
we talked
Yeah.
about this for a long time, and I was just trying to, I just thought it was really, really, just really, it was useful for me to hear, like, to hear some of this feedback she was giving me.
That is really good feedback. I think
Yeah.
sometimes we, as writers, we want to be um kind of like puzzle solvers, right? Like we have all the
Right.
pieces and we want the puzzles to fit perfectly, and sometimes it doesn't fit perfectly because human beings do not fit perfectly always in their circumstances and with each other, and they're very complicated, and it's hard to follow story arcs without forcing a situation or having something be super convenient for the
Right. Right.
story.
Right. One of the valuable things I heard recently, this came from this same person, was like, characters, your character didn't have enough mistakes. You need, they need, they need to make more mistakes, and which I think is very, very valuable, and that, and it was one of her professors giving her feedback on one of her screenplays, that she and I was an early collaborator. She's the most recent collaborator. It's her screenplay, you know, but
That's great. Yeah, that's
yeah.
good advice. Like that.
Yeah, more mistakes. I don't know. That's what I spent the pandemic doing, just really looking at my work and realizing that I tell a lot of love stories, and that's great, But it's and it's what I know, and it's what I love to do. But it is a form. It is, a formula. It is formula. And this person meets this person, and they're in, sort of a confined, universe of some kind, whether it's prison or Mormonism, or in a
Or
mission,
pandemic.
and, a pandemic, like, yeah, I mean, it's very, I can tell those stories all day long, and to some, those will be compelling stories. But as far as like really like creating like a narrative, a narrative that's not about love, because I feel like that can only go so far these days,
Mhm.
like there's only so many people that really want, you know to hear, to follow a love story, but and I think part of it's trying to like merge like the movies you like to watch, because I don't watch a lot of love stories,
Mhm.
but merging like the movies you actually pay to watch with the kind of stories you can create yourself.
Right.
There's somewhere in the middle there, where I'm trying to find, because I mean, like, I don't know, like today for some reason, I was working on my computer all day, but I watched Project Almanac and Project X, and then I watched Chronicle. All like three, like, I don't know. I watched one and I was like, I want to watch another found footage film, and kept watching them. And I don't know, I like something about them. I just like
Yeah.
I just loved it, like, I've been obsessed with like Christopher Nolan lately, and
Mhm.
just the Safdie brothers, I think is what, Good Time,
Oh yeah. Uncut
uh,
gems.
Uncut Gems. Like, their stories are like, I think what makes those stories compelling, more so Good Time is doing this more so, is everything happens over a short amount of time, and it's just, like 24 hour, like Good Time is a night. Good Time is like one day actually.
Yeah.
And that's why it's moving. It's just, I mean, it is moving like emotionally, but I mean, just a constantly moving story, and you just can't take your eyes off of it,
Yeah.
and I love that. I love that the handheld work, but they also take a minute to pull out and get a slow zoom, and I just for Lose and Strictly were the first times I actually played with that, like yeah, I love that I love that handheld feel. I love that, and it's a lot of movies, like I don't know, like I heard recently, like Friday Night Lights is like what kind of made that,
Yeah.
big thing, and I love that series, but then I also like, I was messed up Yorgos, the guy that did the Killing of a Sacred Deer,
Oh yeah.
the I almost said Red Lobster. He did The Lobster, and
Okay.
I love if you. I just watched The Killing of a Sacred Deer again, and I loved every shot was like a zoom out or a zoom in, everything, And so I bought a little like I have a little zoom system. I mean, it's like $1,000, but and I bought a zoom lens. It cost me like $3,000 to be able to zoom like that with the system that I have now, you know. But man, I love this system. It's not perfect, but it's the same system we used for Strictly and for Loose to be able to get those zoom ins and zoom outs, as opposed to just like putting a camera on sticks. Yeah, but that I love that feel, but I also love that that like Terrence Malick kind of glidey gimbal type feel too. Absolutely love that feel too, and the handheld, and we did all three of those in Lose, and Strictly was very much like the zoom in, zoom out camera was locked down. It had that type of feel, almost like a Wes Anderson type movie, only not shot on anamorphic, but yeah, I really want to get more creative with that, really bringing in the audience and into how they feel that way. I mean, that's kind of like what the camera is supposed to do is camera movement is supposed to induce a feeling for the audience. And I think we as filmmakers, as independent filmmakers, get so used to not having, like we talked about on the last time we talked on one of your podcasts, just time and budget. Those are always the two things that are lacking. And so okay, we just get coverage sometimes. I mean, plenty of times I just get my wide and my two singles, and if I'm feeling brave, I'll just get that wide, be like, no, we're good, we don't need singles, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I should have gotten some singles, but I hardly ever regret just getting something on a gimbal that just moves around and catches everything. And then like I love that feel too.
Super playful, like the Uncut Gems. First of all, that was such an anxiety-inducing experience walking into that film.
Oh my God, yeah.
When I left, the scene where they couldn't open the door the first time, when the door got stuck and they couldn't open the door and they're doing everything to unlock it, was panic-inducing enough, because you knew that meant something for the film at some point, or it felt like it was a symbolism for him being stuck.
Yeah,
making it worse by adding different tools to it. And then by the end, I mean, when the game was going on and they were up and they were behind and he had those guys trapped in that same door area, he just knew something bad was coming. He didn't know how bad it was going to be and how violent, but my goodness, I left that movie feeling very like on edge.
totally. And I feel like it's like the same person. I don't want to mention her name, but I mean, not like she would care, but it's like I mean, she was talking about that, when I asked her, like, about my work or whatever, and she, basically she was telling me like what her really like profoundly good professors would tell her at NYU. It's like, once the characters sit down and start talking, like people's tension won't last very long, like you gotta keep moving, and they're perfect examples of that. Keep the story moving, keep the story going. Like when the plot loses a little bit of steam, that's when people start sitting around talking to each other, and it's easy as an independent filmmaker to just go from one sit down talking scene to another sit down talking scene to another sit down talking scene. And hey, I've done it a lot. And I'd rather people feel like, I mean, not, they don't have to feel anxiety necessarily, but at least feel like we're moving, we're going somewhere,
An
I want
experience, and they're experiencing it with the characters,
sure.
right?
Yeah, exactly. I watched, I was here working all day, but I watched another movie today about time travel, and it was an Australian movie, and it was good, but it really was, I didn't watch the end because it was one of those, exactly what I was just talking about, is going from conversation to conversation. It was moving and I cared, but it just, I wasn't being taken on a journey, on an experience. I wasn't getting lost in it. I would, often get kind of lost in, in my own little, world of what was going through my own head in my own life. And
Right.
as opposed to like focusing in and getting into, into the story that I'm watching. So
Yeah, experiencing with them. It's one thing I noticed. One of my favorite shows, and this is not a critique at all. I'm in nowhere near it, in a place where I can critique Aziz and Zari's work, but I love Master of None season 1 and 2 so much because of that kind of, instead of having conversations, there was always conversations around the camera panning around them while they're eating dinner, or the chef was serving, like something interesting was always kind of popping. And then it was limited with season 3 because of the pandemic. You have to have limited crew, limited things, and there was a lot of 2 for shots, a lot of like French New Wave, 3 to 4 characters in just one shot talking, and that
yeah,
kind of like kept going on for like several episodes. And I was like, okay, this is, I know why they're doing it. It's a very intimate love story this season, but my mind did start to wonder, and I kind of missed the playfulness of the first 2 seasons.
I need to go back and watch. I like the first. I like that show a lot. But
Yeah.
is that a French New Wave um, gimmick? I guess like
Um,
having.
I mean, French New Wave has a lot of like running and tracking shots too. A lot of running with the characters, kind of tracking shots, lots of handheld. But uh, another big influence was just setting up the camera and letting people just kind of talk, in a 2 for 1 shot. I know that Wes does that. Wes Anderson does that quite a bit. But the way his stories are orchestrated, you kind of forgive that because it's like later in the story and you're kind of like
Yeah,
already married to
yeah,
the characters. So I
yeah,
guess it's all about a balance, but
yeah. I mean, regarding Wes Anderson, I didn't know. I mean, because like anamorphic hasn't been affordable
mhm,
until now. The anamorphic, an anamorphic lens and cameras that are able to shoot anamorphic and monitors that are able to do it as well. Like, um, I mean, maybe they have been for longer than I know, but there's only 2 lenses I can think of right now that are anamorphic that are pretty good and affordable. One's about $700 to $1,000, and the other one is 3,000, around a little more than $3,000, like the Vazen or the Vazen, 28 millimeter, the 40 millimeter, and it's actually a pretty good lens. It's sharp, and they have it in an RF mount, and they have it in Micro Four Thirds mount, but not in an EF mount, like that sort of the Canon EF
mhm,
scenario. I think is they're trying to do away with that, and I don't understand all that. I'm not a very technical
mhm.
filmmaker. I'm just not, even though I consider myself a cinematographer and in some ways, but I don't know, like so now that I went back and watched Pulp Fiction, and I watched the Darjeeling Unlimited
Mhm.
um, a couple of days ago, and I just love that. I love the look at those of those movies. I just love it. I just didn't know what it was until recently, until anamorphic became more affordable for filmmakers like me. And so and I want to try more of that. Like so I just bought a red camera. It's like I never owned
All
it.
right, nice. A red.
Yeah, I mean it's the Komodo, it's like
Mhm.
the more, it's like it's not very expensive, as far as red cameras go, but I bought that. I'm getting an anamorphic lens, and I'm really, and I had the Blackmagic Pro, and I love that camera. It's a beautiful image. I mean, some people say you can't tell the difference between the red Komodo and the Blackmagic, but I love that the Red Komodo has a global shutter, So I might get less flicker in some situations. And also it's great apparently for handheld work, even though some people say like a rolling shutter can sometimes be a little bit more fluid. But I mean, I just to get that red look, it's the best looking camera in my opinion in that price range, and like,
Yeah.
there's the thing is there's so many great cameras now,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like everything looks good. Everything looks pretty good. I mean, I don't necessarily even really need the Komodo, but I want it. I mean, if I'm going to do some commercial work for this person or that person, I mean, it looks just as good as, the image coming out of that looks just as good as what you and I shot with the Falls Testament of Love,
That
or
was a red dragon.
yeah, that was the red. It was red. The red one.
Red
Yeah, I
one.
don't know if it was Dragon. It was the red one, but it looked beautiful. You go back and watch it now, it still looks beautiful.
Yeah.
And if I can just, if I don't have to worry about renting a camera, and
There you go.
I mean, I love, I've shot most of my movies. I've shot with Sony cameras,
Hmm.
and they look gorgeous. They look fine. Nobody's ever been like, holy shit, what did you shoot that with? Like ever. And part of that has to do with some of the lenses we're using were, they weren't like top end, high end lenses, but I mean, if you want to make a movie and you want it to look good, like the Sony A7S 1, 2, and 3, or the EX3 now, like fucking perfect. That's all you need. That and a Ninja,
Yeah.
and you're good to go. But I mean, I think now that I'm in my 40s now, and I'm think like I've made 10 movies now, and I'm like, I want everything I make now to, to just, to look outstanding, just to look at that, like we talked about, just trying to get better and go up to the next level. I'll make a movie, I made Strictly for the Birds and lose 100, over $100,000 budgets, which is, for me, it's a lot of money. And then I went back and made Love and Dangerous Times, which is, we spent like $2,000 on that,
Yeah.
so the budgets are,
Yeah.
but it'd be
I
nice
went.
to have the camera. Go ahead.
Yeah. I went back and actually rewatched. I was actually with someone I'm seeing. I showed him. We watched it all out of order. We watched Testament of Love first, and then uh Covenant of Grace, and then the original.
Oh, cool.
And he was just like baffled and at the clarity of it, and the images as well. And yeah,
Oh, interesting.
Testament
Yeah,
of
yeah.
Love, beautiful images.
That's the love. Yeah, it looks gorgeous. But I mean, part of that too was, I don't know. I got really into Mad Men during that period of time, and I think we got all our clothes from J. Crew. They gave us a great deal, and I don't know, whatever. So we paid really special attention to the wardrobe during that film.
Sabrina.
And yeah, Sabrina. Yeah, Sabrina was amazing. And then, and on Covenant of Grace, we just felt like we had less money, but we
Yeah.
didn't. No, it was just
That movie felt like they had grown up, and it matched
yeah,
it matched their life at that time.
it did. Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It just yeah. I guess it was almost like I was preparing myself to say, like, I was, I wasn't at all like disappointed with the way it looked. It looked beautiful, and Sarah Weldon did a great job. I just I guess I just felt like, wow, I wish we could have had that, that same like resolution that we did in Testament of Love,
Mhm.
And like I said, the Sony cameras, they're always there for us, right?
Right.
You know,
I actually
so-
bought a 2.5K Black Magic. There's a couple of shutter add-ons you can do for that, and the ProRes like ability, because I learned the hard way with my first attempt at a feature was letting my DP shoot a lot of stuff in RAW, and then having to store all that was just a nightmare, and then having to
yeah,
not translating into ProRes from the get-go. And we're doing this in black and white, and so it's going to match the
yeah,
tone. So I'm really excited just about, as I was telling our friend Amber, that we both have in common, when I teach myself something, there's a lot of pride that comes behind that. Back when I first started doing Lunch with Luis, there was literally no one around to teach me how to do a podcast. I literally had to lock myself in my bedroom and just go on the internet and then learn these programs, learn how to do it, learn how
I
to
mean,
host
yeah.
it. And so
That part of it. Mhm.
yeah, so that's how I feel now too with I'm not planning on DPing this movie, but at the same time, just learning the ins and outs of an older camera and learning that you can add, there's shutter add-ons I can do, shooting in ProRes. I'm excited about kind of teaching myself that process. So I at least have the basics to fall back on, because you just never know. You never know when you're going to end up being your own DP or things like that
Yeah.
as well. So
Yeah, and that's what I'm prepping myself for too. Is like I don't want ever to be told I can't make a movie, or like, not that I would be ever told that, but I mean, like, I don't know, you know what I mean. I just want to have full, complete control, and I think I want to have a separate. We can talk like next week about the script you sent me. I'd love to.
oh yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
let's talk separately about that. But real quick, I'm going to show you
Please do.
this guy. If I can.
Please do.
This is a little system I'm rocking right now. This is
Ooh, little.
Yeah, I know. It's a pocket camera, but it's not really a pocket camera at all. But this lens is 20-55. It's DZO. They're this let's see the logo there. You see it kind of?
Yeah.
The
Yeah, I can see it.
DZO. This is I think there's a Chinese company, and they're making cinema lenses that people can afford, and this is about $2,500 lens or so, but I mean, it's heavy. That's the only thing. So I'm not going to do much handheld work with this at all. But I also picked up a 25 millimeter. That's obviously much lighter, and I could do handheld work with that. And that's all I need. But at least I have, my 20-55, covered with this thing. And I'm thinking about getting there's another one that I think it's like 55 to 120 or something like that. And
Oh, nice.
it's the sharpest thing I've ever had, and I got this little zoom system from Tilta, it's just like a trigger zoom, and has a little, like a zoom handle here, and
Beautiful.
it's pretty rad,
Yeah, gorgeous looking.
yeah. And so, and it's all like, the power, like the problem with the Black Magic cameras, they say, is with a 2.5K back in the day, I don't know what the battery power was like, but these things probably only go for about half an hour, and so I found this third party company, Juicebox. They make a battery that, it'll last for an hour. I'm shooting directly to a drive, and
Okay, yeah, that's awesome.
it's been great, man. It's been great. So I'm, for I don't get my red Komodo until the end of July, and
Are they in back order or?
oh yeah, they're in back order.
Okay.
Like, they're seriously on back order. Like, I don't know what exactly, but I think it's like three months or
Wow.
something like that. I mean, there's a lot of guys and gals just buying those things and
Yeah,
reselling them for $2,000 or $3,000
above market.
yeah, above market. And well, they had a couple of limited edition ones that were like there's a stormtrooper one. It was white and black, of course, and there's like there's orange one, or red one, black. I mean, they're all different colors, and now those were like limited, and now people are selling those for even more. But I'm buying it because I want to make some stuff with it. So
Yeah. Do you
I'm
find that the pandemic has leveled the playing field at all for filmmakers at different levels in terms of kind of breaking that glass ceiling to
totally
Hollywood or being
totally
approachable? Cool.
totally. Okay, well, like, for on one end of things, I feel like a lot of filmmakers collected unemployment and are making more money than they ever have in their, in their life.
Right.
And so a lot of my friends like have like amazing gear now, have like, beautiful gear they've never been able to afford, before, and they're ready to make some beautiful shit, and that's awesome. I
Excellent.
felt like, there's a lot of writers I know, necessarily, like, not all of them could write very much during the early days of the pandemic, anxieties or whatever. I don't know. I mean, which I think is interesting, but then, and then, but to a degree, like, people that I know who weren't writing as much, they started writing a lot. And so,
Right.
and created so I think I'm positive a lot of amazing content was, imagined and realized and put down on paper or on Final Draft or whatever they're using during the pandemic. And it'll be really cool to see what comes out of it. I think it leveled the playing fields a little bit, and because no films were being made, so we were all sort of just in, we're kind of just dreaming about
Mhm.
what to do when this is all over, and now we're here, right?
Right.
Essentially,
Right.
and yeah, we're here, and I think we're all like incredibly excited to to get going. I mean, I made two, I made a feature and I made a short. I made two shorts
Yeah.
during the pandemic, and we managed to, no one got sick, no one got, whatever. We followed guidelines, got tested, wore masks, we did all that,
Awesome.
but I guess to answer your question, I felt like it was the playing field was leveled because nobody could do anything,
Right.
but just dream about what to do when we were when we were here now, when things are starting to open back up again, and sharpening our skills.
Skills.
Yeah, our skills as as writers or whatever. I know people that learn visual effects. I know an actor that learned Blender, and he's better at Blender than a
Wow.
lot of people I know. Like I know a guy that just was a musician, started doing visual effects, and he's a musician actor. He started visual effects and creating these cool movies, short movies, and he just has hundreds of thousands of friends on
Wow.
on Instagram now because of the little videos he's made. He's also a gorgeous kid, so he gets a lot of attention anyway, So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of us like got in, started woodshedding, which I like to
Mhm.
call, back when I was a musician, and and I was told that a lot. It's like, man, your voice is good, but your guitar skills are kind of lagging, man. You got to go woodshed. You got to go, you got to go away and just, do those scales, work on those scales every single day, become a better all-around musician. And I think that's what a lot of us did. We just educated ourselves, hopefully
Yep. Yeah,
became
that's
better.
a super positive spin, and uh come out on the other side, and now it's time to hit the ground running and hit that pavement. So I'm super excited to see what the next step is for you. You've always been
Yeah.
you've always been a true inspiration for me and a lot of my friends. I mean, I remember the first time I met you was at Wesley's beer documentary premiere, and I'd always known the Jon Garcia name, but I'd never matched the face of the name. So I was a little just surprised. I was like, oh, that's Jon Garcia. I knew Wesley had known him, but I knew Wesley knew you, but I didn't know
No,
you were going to be there. And the rest, as they say, is history. You've always been a
yeah.
super supportive friend, and super supportive, and to your friends in the industry as well. And you got a lot of people behind you that want to see you get to whatever level you want to get to. So I have no doubts that you'll get there. It's going to be awesome to see.
Well, I appreciate that, brother. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
So in terms of where we can follow your work, what's coming next, and streaming services that show your upcoming projects, where can I send people to?
I might have
Let's see here.
oh, actually I have a document right here where to watch my movie.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I like it. Hey, I like it.
Yeah. So the Falls films, they're on Apple and Canopy and Vudu and Amazon.
Hmm.
Um, and Real Good Movie. I don't know what that is, but it's there too. On they're on Vimeo as well. There's you can buy the trilogy, the Falls trilogy.
Uh-huh.
On Amazon for that. Sex Weather is on Vudu and iTunes and Google Play, and Now We're Still Daylight's on Amazon and Vudu and Tubi. Sex Weather's on Tubi now too. We
Oh,
actually
cool.
had to cut some of the more intimate stuff in Sex Weather out.
Sure you
Um,
did. I saw some of that intimate stuff.
yeah, we had to
Cool.
cut some of that out to get it up back on Tubi, and Amazon was just like,
No, couldn't have
they,
it.
well, I mean, but I was surprised, because Nymphomaniac was on Amazon for a minute for a
Mm,
long time, and so I was like, I don't know, and they probably got Game of Thrones on. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
like,
it's
but
weird.
we're obviously not Game of Thrones,
Yeah,
so
interesting. Huh.
yeah, it's kind of interesting, man. I don't know, but so the more recent films, Love and Dangerous Times is it's on Amazon and it's on Vudu and Google Play and iTunes, and it's not streaming anywhere yet, but I hope it will be.
Yeah.
Lose is on most all platforms right now, and there's an edited version because it also had some intimacy that Amazon wasn't on board with, and so and whatever, like whatever, but so there's an edited version of the film on Amazon.
Okay.
It's still a great movie even without
Yeah.
those.
I loved Lose. I noticed that the intimacy had stepped up since the fall days for sure, but it definitely captured, people have sex. That's what people do. So, and it wasn't the highlight of the story. It was like there was
Yeah.
so much more going on. It wasn't just about the sex, and I really felt compelled. Really was really compelling. Lose to me because unfortunately I have family. I won't get into it that has had the prison experience, and it's like wow, like that's
Yeah.
super thought provoking, and the ending especially was very intense. So definitely recommend that one
Cool,
to
man.
our viewers.
I
But
appreciate that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Go ahead.
definitely keep in touch. We'll talk next week as you mentioned, and let me know when you're if you're ever up in the Eastern Washington area. You're welcome to come hang out at the new place. And if I'm ever in Austin, are you in? Oh, you're in Corpus Christi. My dad used to take us down there. I think totally to get shrimp for his restaurant.
I'm in Houston. Thankfully,
Houston.
thankfully, I'm not in Corpus Christi, but
Okay.
I don't know.
Nice.
It's where I'm from. It's kind of cliche to knock your hometown, but
Yeah, no, that's totally
yeah,
fine. But if you're
yeah.
ever up here, we'll get together, and thank you so much. And then this is I'm not sure what sequence this episode is landing on. I'll give you the details soon so you can promote and put it out there. But it's gonna be through Buzzsprout on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify as well. So you'll be able to
Great, man.
blast it out.
Well, it's a
All right.
pleasure to catch up with you, brother. Thanks for having me
You
on.
too. Yeah. Take care and enjoy your night, bud.
I will. All right. Thanks, Primo.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.